Welcome to the Salty Investors, episode number 33. It is Friday the 26th.
Yep.
Sound good? Yep, sounds good. 26th of May, 2023. How are you this week, Tim?
Yeah, pretty good yourself.
Yeah, can't complain. Beautiful weather, and talking about the bullshit of the week. So I want to lead off with it, with my salt, because on Q&A this week, there was a blue-haired, nose-ringed woman with a completely muddled diatribe about how the banks were making huge profits, that most of the inflation was price gouging, which I think she got from Sally McManus. And then she got all apoplectic that they were, wait for it, her friend was paying 7.5% on her mortgage. And I just thought, well, would you like to hear about the 1980s when people were paying 18%? And then we got to the heart of what she was really against, which was the stage 3 tax cuts, because the rich get them and the poor don't. And she made the completely false claim that high income earners aren't affected by bracket creep, which is interesting. I bet they beg to differ.
Yep.
And so it's good to see that the politics of resentment is alive and well, as is the general financial illiteracy of the audience, which clapped and cheered her.
Yeah, well, mine's a bit on the same thing, the stage 3 tax cuts, but a little bit different. I'm a bit worried that, 180 grand up to 30% new tax rate. I think, boy, I've got to lift my game here a bit. I'm not earning that. I've got to actually pull my finger out here and actually earn a bit more coin and add to society a bit more. So I'm a little bit worried that, I won't be able to lift my game. So I'm starting to think about, what can I do? What can I do to help others, to bring in more coin to lift my income? So I'm probably on the opposite spectrum of this lady. She's worried about, the high income earners, but, why doesn't she think about what she can offer others to earn more? Help out others.
As I said recently on Twitter, resentment is a hell of a drug. It really is. Why people worry so much about, we all hate to see injustice. We all hate to see people getting away with things, fraud or whatever else. But, at the end of the day, this is the great lie of government, I think, and we see it every year. The population's fooled. When my team gets in, everything will be better. It won't be. The ultimate control over your life, if you're an able-bodied person with a couple of brain cells to rub together, is you.
Shock.
Shock
horror. Yeah. So, I don't know. Just never seems to end, but I don't think it's gonna keep dialing up, I think, if we hit a recession here. So
I think you're exactly right. You're exactly right. And I think that we are seeing it. We are seeing it more and more because this stuff has to start to bite sooner or later, except in the housing market where things are just going up and up and up. But apparently I did see it kind of reminds me of what we're going to get onto in a minute, which is about the breadth of the stock market, which is the breadth of the housing market. I saw all these anecdotes about how it's wealthy parents buying houses for their kids, at least putting large down payments on and guaranteeing loans and things like that. So that's not exactly sustainable. And there are rumors of Chinese investors coming in, but that always seems to get overplayed, that angle. But things are getting harder.
Did you see Germany hit a recession, 2 quarters, negative GDP?
Oh, did it?
Yep. Yeah. So that's the first one.
Well, all that money they've spent on renewable energy really helped to bring down those electricity bills, didn't it?
Well, they said, everyone was feeling great because they got through winter, with all the, the gas prices and everything. And they think, we got through it. But nothing's changed. You've still got high inflation over there and, rates are high still. And now they've hit a recession. It's like, what do? You can't cut, surely. So everyone's a bit worried and it's causing a bit of concern.
Well, that was the thing, the big panic about winter, which didn't eventuate. Maybe this winter, as everything, we keep saying things that will happen, and then they keep happening way later than we think. Maybe this winter will be even worse, because you'll be into winter again in another 5 months down there.
That's right.
It's not long away. Enjoy your summer.
Stock up.
Germans,
stock up on some gas over there. It's going to be a rough next time around. So I don't know.
I wish I could buy futures of diesel, because right now it's the cheapest diesel's been for I don't know. It's under 180. So it was 229 at one point. That was the worst I ever paid. Yeah. Let's move on to, because I brought this up last week and this came out in Livewire Markets. I forget which. It might have been L1 Capital or somebody. Which is even worse than what I said, because I was talking about the S&P 100. The top 10 stocks are responsible for 80% of the total returns. And again, so just want to make it clear to people that I'm not saying that this market has to necessarily collapse or anything, but generally strong bull markets have strong participation across a broad range of stocks and sectors. And you just don't have it here. I mean, it's been held up by tech, and it's been held up by, a handful of names, a dozen names. Here's 10 names responsible for 80% of the outperformance. That's not a healthy market.
And Nvidia is actually, that's from 30th of April. Nvidia's like gone up a heap since then. So
yeah. And it's all, I just can't. It's the thing about shorting is like, someone who's a successful shorter said, one of the rules about shorting is never short when something's going up. Never get in front of the train. Wait till it starts going down, and that's when and even that's not easy to know, because these things have large whipsaws. But I feel like shorting that, and I just have to stop myself from doing it, because the AI bubble, who knows?
That's right.
I feel like AI is going to be like everything else that like 3D printing. You were going to break your spatula, and then you were going to print one right there and then in your kitchen. It was going to cost you a fraction of the cost of a 99-cent plastic spatula down at the discount store. That didn't happen. I mean, you run through a list of these things that they're all good. I mean, I like AI. I'm not one of these people who thinks AI is it's going to turn into whatever it is, the apocalypse. What is it called on Terminator? Judgment Day or something?
Skynet and all that. Yeah.
Skynet. Yeah. I don't think I'm qualified to even comment on it, but I'm not afraid of it. But it'll just be overplayed. They'll be making claims about how no one will ever work again, and AI is going to do everything. And of course, that won't happen. And most people will work, and your job won't be taken over. And maybe it'll just become an assistant to you and do some heavy lifting for you.
You just have to wait till they say, since we've got AI now, we can now have communism. Because AI can do all the work. So I don't know. Has someone said that?
I've seen a lot more talk on Twitter about all the cost of living stuff about UBI. People are like, UBI, because I feel like there's a lot of people who would just, fuck it, I'll give up. I'll just take a check off the government and don't have to work too hard. And, But I don't know if people realize they're accepting by doing that, you're accepting a pretty low standard of living. It's not like UBI's $100,000 a year or something.
Yeah, you can live off potatoes and rice. You don't really need any avocados or toast.
This is why I think the Liberal Democrats' policy of a $40,000 tax-free threshold would kind of. It's a good policy in the sense that the blue-haired nose ring woman that I was talking about before, it kind of shuts them up, because that's a tax cut. Everyone gets it, but it helps the bottom end just as much as the top end, right? Because that if you earn $40,000, you're paying about $5,000 in tax, $5,000 in income tax. You're paying 20% on about $22,000.
Yes,
something like that. So it's about a bit over $4,000 in your pocket. Now, people on $200,000 will also get that, but proportionally, that extra $4,000 in the pocket of someone who earns $40,000 is a huge, huge benefit compared to the person on $200,000. And that's why it's such a good one, because then look, hey, blue hair, you've got nothing to whinge about. You don't pay any income tax now if you're on $40,000 a year. And most of the benefits you got an equal benefit in monetary terms, and you got a way bigger benefit in percentage terms.
Yeah. Services and everything. Yeah.
And that deals with bracket creep in a different way, in which actually you don't even need to adjust the higher tax brackets. Then you can just say, well, look, you're getting a benefit here, which I don't agree with that, but at least you could say that.
Yeah. The problem is there's no such thing as taxing the rich. Like the top 10% already pay 50% of the tax, and then
Well,
everyone
more.
thinks they pay a heap, but they don't actually.
Yeah.
And this is the problem. Then unless you're going to go into more debt, the money needs to come from somewhere, and that's the problem. So, but it'd be nice if we could get there. So, I reckon if we just cut a few services, we could get there easily. That's the hard question. You got to, if you want to be honest, you got to go, well, we'll cut a few things, and we can get to that 50, and you can spend it how you see fit. Sounds like a good compromise to me, but not allowed to cut anything, I'm afraid. That's not politically feasible. So
no, apparently not. I saw Jim Chalmers claiming credit for all the jobs that have been created since Labor come in, but of course, all the cost of living increases the responsibility of the previous government, and supply chain issues and Ukraine-Russia war. I don't know. People actually sit there and listen to that and go, "Oh yeah, that sounds about right." No, God.
I only make good trades, don't I? I only pick winners.
Yeah. Tell me about all your winners, Tim, and not your losers. And what have you learnt from all your winners? I've learned not to talk about my losers.
Yep.
Alrighty, let's move along here. I just thought I just had to have a laugh. It's been that kind of week, hasn't it? I've just turned into a complete cynic. So Phil was out giving a speech to parliamentarians, and he didn't actually say anything that much different than he usually says. But he stressed that he didn't have any tolerance for high inflation lasting for a long time. So could be another interest rate rise on the cards, which is not really that surprising, to be honest, but it is for people. So we're less than 2 weeks out from the next meeting. And I just think you're going to see this ratcheting up, as we get closer again and people realize there's another interest rate decision coming up. We're going to see more of the class warfare, more of the rich people are getting tax cuts, the price gouging, and the RBA doesn't care about me and my amazingly overpriced 7.5% mortgage that I was stupid enough to put 10% deposit down on in the middle of the pandemic and borrow 1.5 million. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, but they're not comparing that to inflation. The rate. Still, come on. That's what you're supposed to be doing. I don't know. We'll see what the inflation print mustn't be too far off either. So the monthly one.
Yeah, it's the end of this month. It's always at the end of the month, but it might get released on the 1st or the 2nd of.
Okay.
Yeah, I can't remember. So that'll be next week probably. That'll be next week, and then you get the decision after that. I just threw this in. I sent this to you privately, but DUSK, I think it's a bit of a canary in the coal mine for discretionary retail. It's down. We don't even actually have the price there, but it's fallen from. It basically came out with. They didn't call it a profit warning, but it was a profit warning. They said, basically, and we've revised our guidance down based on slower consumer traffic. It's a profit warning is what it is. And that was reflected in the price. The price has fallen 30 or 40% in a matter of a few days. So it's, what is it there? So it's about $1.10. Not long ago, it was up around $1.70. So, these things get mercilessly crushed. This is like quintessential discretionary. It's candles and stuff. So it's not, it's the kind of thing you would expect to go first out of all the discretionary stuff. But I would not be surprised to see a series of these, because we're now, the financial year is basically over. We've got one more month. And then I would be looking, I was saying this last year, if you remember, I was saying, look at the AGM, because retailers always give first 6 weeks of the financial year, they'll say, this is how we're traveling. And of course, last year I was obviously too far ahead. I thought that there was going to, there wasn't any. They didn't come out and said, some of them said like, it's challenging conditions, but we're negotiating it well, blah, blah, blah. And they didn't downgrade or anything like that. But this year, I think, you could see a few, I just thought that'd be there. I think the flip side to this is, of course, these can be great investments. Well, these could be, I don't want to, no, I shouldn't say that. They're not great investments because they're not great companies. They're cyclicals, and this is not a great business. But coming out of something like this, if this thing's $1.10, They're going to cut. They'll probably have to cut their dividend, and you know, who knows how low it can go. But these can be great returners when you get the other side of the cycle.
It still feels like we're on the front end of this, but like,
yeah, that's what I think too.
And you're looking at it's $1 now. Like, crikey, that's like, I can see 30 cents, and it's in the future here. And you're thinking, crikey, you look at, you're not supposed to follow charts or anything like that, but if it survives, wow, like whoever can understand this and really understand it and make sure it can survive. And we have a garden variety.
I think these guys have no net debt. I think their cash probably cancels out their debt. So, yeah.
How much will they incur, in a typical 2-year, 3-year type recession? Will someone keep looking after them? Yeah.
Well, it could be one of those. I mean, this is ripe as in this type of environment. Not yet. I think you're right in saying it's still early to get taken out at some point. It's a bolt-on for some other retail shop.
Yeah,
I mean, look at that Step One Clothing. It's just an online retailer of undies. It's not I don't think it's a very good business, to be honest. Great gross margins, but at the end of the day, they haven't shown they can penetrate anywhere else other than Australia, really. I mean, I don't know what that is. I think it's still less than 30 cents a share now. So there'll be some, I think there'll be some cashed up, maybe private investors as well as public listed companies willing to go shopping in the next 6 to 12 months for some bargains.
Well, a super retail group, there's a whole heap of them, conglomerates in Australia. You could bolt that on easy, all the fashion ones, so.
Yeah. You think things like this, I think, are attractive for private equity because they know at the end of the day, this is not a great business. It's a cyclical business. But if you get it at the right point in the cycle and spin it out, you make it 4 or 5 bagger in a few years. Yeah, it's pretty easy. Yeah. So watch the retail space. More carnage to come, I think. And this week, Tim's going to take us through Procter Gamble, everybody's favourite.
Yeah. Well, pretty old-time favourite here, as you can see, founded 1837. So, it's going back a few years. Been around for a little bit, and you just look at some of these brands they got in here, just unbelievable. Like Clairol, Gillette. That's a Buffett. That's an old Buffett play. He used to have dreams about people at night. Men, their beards growing out while he's, and then they got to go buy Gillette.
Although the reality, the P&G bought Gillette at its peak when it had 75% of the men's shaving market. And now it's got closer to 50% or less than 50%. Remember, they had to write the value. People made this mistake years ago when Gillette came out with that awful commercial and said that, and then they said, they lost $6 billion as a result. They wrote down the value, the goodwill portion of the Gillette acquisition, which went back to something like 2008 or something, or before that even.
Yep.
And so they were just, they paid top price at the peak for Gillette, but it's still a really valuable brand. I mean, you go in the supermarket, half of the men's shaving shelf is Gillette products, isn't it?
And
or more.
That's the cool thing about quality companies. They can make all these dumbass decisions over and over, but they just got this cash flow thing that just comes in and just saves them over and over and over again. And, that's really hard to beat. Like if you said, I'm going to go in and, go against CoverGirl or Olay, in the supermarket and try and outcompete them. Like you're either mentally ill or you've got way too much cash and you're not going to hold it for too long. All these, a heap of these brands like Vicks and, Metamucil, and Duracell.
Yeah, I didn't realize.
I think that was another
Duracell.
Buffett. That was a Buffett one as well, I think, at some stage as well. I think he actually owned that. Head and Shoulders, like it's Pantene, like Oral-B, just never ending.
God.
So you've got a whole, a couple of them fall over, but if you look at 10 years, I'm pretty sure half the stable's going to be there, but I could be wrong.
Manage this company. All you got to do is manage the decline of shitty brands and get rid of them and just replace it with a better one.
Yeah, occasionally. Every year or two, just buy some other brand, with your free cash flow, and you're going to get people are going to give you low interest bonds for another 100 years. So we look
Old
at the number.
Spice. People still wear that, do they?
Yeah, I do. I'm an Old Spice man.
Oh yeah. You
yeah,
like smelling like cat's piss?
yeah. I know they put it. I know I don't wear that, but the shampoo.
Oh, right. I didn't know they had shampoo. I thought it was just a terrible cologne.
Yeah. Like you go into the, there's a bit of look for a male shampoo if you go in there, and I don't know. We don't normally need to worry about that too much nowadays, but you look at the selection, and it's very one side of the sexist spectrum owns most of the shelf space. I'm afraid there's not much to pick from. So, yeah. But yeah, if you look at the common shares, like they're all going in the right direction. Price to free cash flow, you're looking at nearly a 25% yield there, and then you're getting a 2.5% dividend yield, and so 60% of that's your payout. So it's your return on invested capital. I think this is what Terry's looking at. Like he's seeing it's getting solid 20s now.
20s, yeah.
And I think he's using this as a defensive play. Like he's owned this in the past. You'll see before. It's not like a brilliant company. Those gross margins are, good. You got a operating margin of 20%. That's still not too bad for a, staples. But yeah, I think he's just buying this for the recession. I think I think this is a tell. I think he thinks.
When did he buy it?
Yeah, just quarter gone
recently. Yeah, right. Because see, these things all ran ahead of like pandemic time, and so I look at the PE ratio there, and it's not. I guess it's historically what you would pay for it, but it's not cheap, is it?
But it hasn't run away either. You're not in the 30s here, so price to free cash flow is a bit high. Yeah,
you're paying 25 times earnings for a company that definitely doesn't compound its profits. What is it? High single digits? Is that what it's doing it at?
Yeah, we'll flick over to the next. We've got some cash flow statement. And
yeah.
So yeah, you can see the cash flow. You're getting 12 billion a year. It's got a little bit of debt there at 25. So 2 years. But this is one of those 100-year-old bloody companies nearly. So you can't be doing your discount cash flow 5 years out here. You should be giving a little bit more legs to this type of brand. And this is Terry's buy. He's got 1 million shares he just pumped in. So and you look back and he's dabbled. I mean, he sold a little bit, but like 1 million, it's like 1% of his portfolio now. So he's diving in a little bit here. It's still not.
Maybe he thinks the worst is yet to come. Is that what we're supposed to? He's in the
hard landing camp.
Yeah.
And he's just hiding away in here a little bit. It's basically a bond return. You get. You're not getting much more than that. But you see the, cash from operations here. It's nothing sloppy. You're still getting your 15, 16 billion. It's gone up a little bit in the pandemic, but it's back to 2019 levels. That's what you want to see. Yep. Nothing's collapsed or fallen over since we've come out of the COVID. So it's not actually a bad buy by Terry here, because I thought they were all run up a fair bit. But as you can see from the prices there, it's pretty flat, on that graph there. You can see it hasn't really gone anywhere. And he's just bought in a little bit more.
Well, that might be reflective of the fact that the profits aren't going. That's what I mean. Okay, I get it. It's this stable of great brands, very stable company, especially in times of economic problems. But do you pay 25 times for a company that's growing single-digit revenue and profits? I don't know. I don't know what the right. I mean, return on invested capital is better than average, but it's not great. It's not brilliant. It sounds to me like it's a safety play. Yeah,
I think what Terry's looking at as well, the cost of goods sold would have been smashed, in the last, with all that inflation. And with inflation coming off a little bit now, he's hoping those gross margins are going to come back even more. I don't know. It's a hard one to look at, but I'm probably too young to be, getting defensive this much. But I don't know.
It's not terrible, Scott. As always with me, it's like, I like it. What do you pay for it? What do you pay for it? Do you pay 25 times earnings for it? Or,
yeah. But that's what you're supposed to be doing. You're supposed to be DCA into these things, but you know, we are greedy. That's the thing.
Yep.
If it's just a normal cycle, you know, the holding rates or they weren't going to lift anymore, you know, this is the thing you should be buying, like, and just set and forget. Just leave it, and you know, you just collect. You don't have to worry about it. You don't have to stress. What are these guys going to be doing next year? Like,
I mean, you know that, it's not going to be going out of business next year or anything. Yeah. All right. Is that it? We'll leave it there. Yeah. All right. There you go, people. Look at Procter and Gamble. Terry Smith's doing it. That doesn't mean you should do it. Terry Smith's a professional, and we're just amateurs shooting our mouths off. But as usual, we will see you next week. Thanks.